Okay, now let's try some watercolor techniques when we're thinking about our foreground. Remember, the foreground is going to have more detail, it's going to be bigger, closer to the bottom of the paper, and there are some techniques that might be useful here. So first, I'm going to use pencil to add some details to really plan out my design. Something you should know about pencil if you use it is you can't erase it once you've painted on top of it, okay? So if you're using pencil, be careful. Then I just put a layer, this is called a wash of yellow. I'm gonna paint on top of that. Next, I've made a little vase here, and this is called masking fluid or drawing gum, kind of like masking tape. What it does is it's gonna block out the parts of the painting where that blue is, that's the fluid, and we'll peel it off later, kind of like you peel off tape. I'll show you. Here, I'm making a little round ball. We're gonna play with value. Value is gonna be important, especially in the foreground when you're thinking about layers. On this window up here, look how I've only painted the window, so that's wet. So when I put little kind of grassy lines on it, it doesn't spread to where the curtains are, but it does kind of spread in the area where I made those wet marks, so wet on wet. At the ball, we're doing some orange. We're really like just mopping and using our towel to make smooth transitions. Now I'm using blue for my shadows. When you use complementary colors, so orange and blue are across from each other on the color wheel, you can create deeper, more interesting shadows than if you just go straight to black or Payne's gray. So I encourage you to try mixing with complements. On this window, we are just going back and forth. I've added some details to the windowsill and to the windows. I want you to see as I do this kind of how it works to create layers with value and depth and like folds in the fabric. So I just have some sort of orange and yellow streaks going on there. I gave a layer of yellow to my vase, and now I'm back down to the ball. I'm going to add some more browns and oranges and even yellows to kind of brighten it up and make this shadow deeper. So those dark colors and the oranges, the blue and the orange, is neutralizing and really like creating this other effect that I'm really liking. I'm adding some shadows to the vase. I'm going to use orange because they're kind of in the same color family. And I'm going to add a wall and a table, but I did this before it was wet, and I'm really just doing this to sort of demonstrate how you need to let things dry, otherwise they bleed into each other. On the curtains, I'm adding another layer. Notice how I'm bouncing back and forth while things dry. This saves you from having to dry it every time. I'm adding some more details to the things in the middle ground, kind of behind the window. I'm adding some darker colors to this shadow on the ball, going back up to the vase, and where those extra colors are where they bled, I pulled them out with a paper towel and then I just dried them again. Now I'm gonna be more careful about making those edges more solid. So there in the shadows, I'm starting to add those blues to really think about not just black, but what are some other ways. Notice how I use my brush to kind of mop up some of those extra colors. Okay, back and forth. Details take time. You need to let things dry, probably, especially in the foreground, between layers so that you're doing wet on dry paper. That way it doesn't bleed. But keep going. With this one, I really want you to try adding a lot of layers. Really try deep shadows. Really try complicated colors. I'm adding a pattern to the wallpaper here. Just really think about all the things you can possibly try, thinking about details, thinking about hard edges, thinking about value and shadows, because the next time we do this, we're going to be practicing for our final piece, and I'm really excited to see what you do. All right, so I am just adding a tiny bit of Payne's gray there at the bottom on the ball, on the shadow, so you can see it's really dark now. All right, so peeling off those little masking fluids, and I'm having to glue them back a little bit. They do sometimes kind of tear, so be careful. And since I don't like the tears, I'm going back and sort of outlining those white spaces. So now I just have really white stars. And then I'm going to go back over to the ball, add some deep shadows, really kind of build that up. And then, you can practice on that last square, your choice. Enjoy.